In this lecture, we will discuss regarding Shimla agreement between India and Pakistan in the year 1972 as at present a warlike situation is continuing between the two countries and in response to India's suspension of the Indus Water Treaty of 1960, Pakistan suspends 1972 Shimla Agreement. So, we would like to discuss what exactly the Shimla Agreement means and how it would have the impact on India and on Pakistan. So, the agreement and its core, we would like to discuss that on 24th April 2025 in response to India's suspension of the Indus Treaty, Water Treaty of 1960. Pakistan suspended the 1972 Shimla Agreement as a reaction against the stringent measures taken by India and nationwide grief over the terrorist attack in Pahalgam. It was a significant peace treaty signed between the two countries after the 1971 Indo-Pak War, and the agreement was signed on July 2, 1972 in the aftermath of the Indo-Pakistan War of 1971. The Shimla Agreement was aimed at restoring peace and normalizing relations between India and Pakistan. The war had resulted in the secession of East Pakistan and the creation of the independent nation of Bangladesh, and during the intervention of India. So the treaty signed in Shimla, the capital of Himachal Pradesh, which was inked by the then late Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, and the then late President of Pakistan, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. It was a significant diplomatic milestone, setting the tone for post-war reconciliation and outlining key principles to guide future interaction. So, what did the agreement say? So, the government of India and the government of Pakistan are resolved that the two countries put an end to the conflict and confrontation that habited to mar their relations and work for the promotion of a friendly and harmonious relationship and the establishment of durable peace in the subcontinent, so that both countries may henceforth devote their resources and energies for the welfare and development of their respective people as per the official statements issued on the aftermath of the agreement in between India and Pakistan, which was signed on July 2, 1972. So, we would like to discuss the key provisions of the agreement. So, the first key provisions relating to UN Charter 1945's jurisdictions application, though, so the principles of and purposes of the Charter of the United Nations shall govern the relations between the two countries, and the second key provision is relating to bilateral mutual negotiation. So, pending the final settlement, the two countries are resolved to settle their references by peaceful means through bilateral negotiations or by any other peaceful means mutually agreed upon between them. And also, the third most key important provision of the treaty is no unilateral or detrimental actions by each of the countries so pending the final settlement of any of the problems between the two countries. Neither side shall unilaterally alter the situation and both shall prevent the organization, assistance, or encouragement of any acts detrimental to the maintenance of peaceful and harmonious situation. And the next key provision is regarding non-interference, so that the prerequisite for the reconciliation, good neighborliness, and durable peace between them is a commitment by both the countries to peaceful coexistence, respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, and non interference in each other's internal affairs on the basis of equality and mutual benefit. And the next provision relates to resolve why peaceful means so that basis that the basic issues and causes of conflict which have developed the relations between the two countries for the last 25 years shall be resolved by peaceful means. And the next provision is relating to respect, unity, integrity, and sovereignty. So they shall have always respect each other's national unity, territorial integrity, and political independence and sovereign equality. And the next most important provision of the agreement is to refrain from threat or use of force. So that in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations, they will refrain from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of each other. And after these key provisions, we would like to discuss certain other important features or provisions such as peaceful bilateral resolution and regarding line of control and return of territory and recognition of Bangladesh. So, as regarding peaceful bilateral resolution, both nations committed to resolving disputes through bilateral negotiations without involving third party mediation, a clause India has consistently highlighted in opposing international interference, especially in the Kashmir issue. And regarding line of control, the agreement converted the 1971 ceasefire line into the line of control, effectively established a de facto border in Jammu Kashmir. It emphasized that neither the side would seek to unilaterally alter this line, thereby enforcing the status quo. Then the question of return of territory was another key provisions and feature of the agreement. So, according to that, India returned over 13,000 square kilometers of land captured during the war, demonstrating goodwill and commitment to peace. However, it retained strategic zones like Tuttuk and Chalunka in the Corvette Valley. And now the next important provision regarding recognition of Bangladesh, though not immediate, the agreement set the stage for Pakistan's eventual diplomatic recognition of Bangladesh. So now we would like to discuss the very impacts of suspension and the shifts in Pakistan's approach. So in this matter, would like to discuss that Pakistan's move to suspend the agreement comes at a time when bilateral relations are already under significant strain. The abrogation of Article 370 by India in 2019, which revoked Jammu and Kashmir special status, led to diplomatic freeze between the two sides. Islamabad has since downgraded ties and repeatedly internationalized the Kashmiri issue in contrast to the bilateral approach prescribed in the Shimla agreement. The suspension could mark a strategic shift in Pakistan's approach. It might now seek third party involvement, possibly from the United Nations or allies like China or the Organization of Islamic Cooperation countries to internationalize the Kashmir conflict. This would be in direct contravention of the Shimla agreement, and the potential impact on the line of control long been a flashpoint between the two nations, frequently witnessing ceasefire violations, cross-border selling and infiltration attempts. If the mutual commitment to maintain the sanctity of the line of control under the Shimla agreement is no longer upheld, it could lead to increased hostilities. India has not yet issued an official response to Pakistan's announcement. So, the very future of this agreement would lead that the very suspension of the Shimla agreement may not have immediate tactical consequences but could open the door to greater diplomatic and military brinkmanship. It could undermine regional stability and could derail any remaining prospects of dialogue between India and Pakistan. So, in this lecture, we have discussed important current hot topic of debate and controversies and conflict and confrontation that is continuing in between India and Pakistan. And in light of the attack on the innocent tourist at Pahalgam in Jammu Kashmir, in response to India's suspension of the Indus Water Treaty of 1960, Pakistan announced suspension of the Shimla Agreement signed in 1972 after the War of 1971 between India and Pakistan. So, in light of that, Pakistan announced suspension of Shimla Agreement. So, we have discussed in this lecture about the aftermath of the War of 1971 between India and Pakistan and the secession of East Pakistan from Pakistan and formation of an independent nation state that is called Bangladesh under the true leadership of the then late President of Bangladesh, late Sheikh Mujibur Rahman of the Awami League. And also we have discussed about the agreement and its key features. So also the key provisions relating to the agreement, and at present, after the announcement of suspension of the Shimla agreement by Pakistan, what impacts it would left on both the countries. And also we have discussed about the very future of the suspension of this agreement by Pakistan.